Welcome to Work On It Wednesday. Mike Callahan here with Dylan from the SimpleGrowth team, where we're breaking down, like Gerber said, we're going to help you work on your business, not in your business. So this is going to be an ongoing for the Facebook world. We're going to actually probably do this in a private moving forward. We want to do the first webinar here with Dylan here for Work On It Wednesday. So we're going to actually go out and help you work on your business and not in it, as Michael Gerber says. So growing and scaling a seven-figure business has been, well, let's just say a little bit challenging here for myself. There was some things we got right, and there was some things, well, we just didn't get right. We had to figure it out. And Dylan, I'm assuming that was probably the same thing in your seven-figure business. In Canada, running a multi-million-dollar lawn care and snow removal business.
Yeah, definitely. I guess you could say there was a couple of hiccups along the way. But if you see me hiccuping at all today, that's the ongoing joke. I've had about 24 hours of nonstop hiccups. So if you see myself muted and kind of having a little bit of a shake in the background, that's why.
Well, hey, man, there are always some hiccups in owning a small business and a service business for sure. So we can respect that. But on Work On It Wednesdays, we're going to dive in automations is the first thing we're talking about. So in my business, kind of the background story is I automated my business basically not because it was something that I wanted to do, but it was something I needed to do. So after working 100 hours a week, in my service business, the business actually ended up causing a divorce. So by hitting rock bottom, it forced me to make some changes and looking at different things in my life that I loved and hated. One of the things I didn't like actually at that point, Dylan, was my lawn care business. And in order to actually get my life or take my life back from my business, we went in and started automating different pieces of the business. So I went from 100 hours a week, literally 7 days a week, to 3 to 5 hours a week to an absentee owner. So along that journey, what we're going to do is breaking down today is how do you actually go out and automate your business. So we can't just eat the whole elephant, but we're going to bite off little pieces, the biggest pain points. But if you've ever wondered what like a fully automated service business looks like, we're going to dive into this and literally lift the hood and show you how we both automated our service business to the same exact process that hundreds of SimpleGrowth clients used. So the good news is if you're not looking to hire an automations expert like SimpleGrowth to do this, we are going to show you the step-by-step process to do this. In addition, if you stick to the end of this, there may be a special offer for you just for your spending your time here to have actually work on your business, not in it. So what we're going to do on these events is literally every Wednesday, permitting minus vacations and some things like that, we are going to come live to you and go into pain points of your business. So if there's certain pain points in your business that you would like us to talk about with a solution around trying how to organize it, automate it, or dominate it, we are going to go in and do that live on Wednesday. So in the live recorded version, type that in. But if you stick to the end of the Work On It Wednesdays, we usually have a special offer for you if this is something you don't want to do yourself. But otherwise, we're going to show you the step-by-step processes on each Wednesday, how to work on it and not in it. So without any further delay, Dylan, do you have any other comments before we open up the screen and actually get into the Work On It Wednesday content today of how to automate your service business?
Yeah, I think the only thing is why we're focusing first here on the sales automations is a lot of problems in a business result from a poor sales process or lack of sales or not profitable sales. So the first kind of, hole in the boat that we might want to clog is a sales problem. Having amazing sales fixes a lot of other issues in the business right off the bat. So before we can kind of move on to some different areas that we can potentially automate, you got to kind of start with the foundational elements of you need sales coming in the door to continue to operate. Sorry, go ahead.
Awesome. No, that's awesome. So as we go in, we're going to open up the screen here and literally basically the nitty-gritty of it. And I'm going to pop the screen around here so you guys can see this. But basically, Dylan, I'll let you lead the way here, but we're going to talk about automating your sales process in your service business to literally hit that seven-figure mark and beyond. So I have a feeling, Dylan, that throughout the Working On Wednesdays, we're going to be diving into different parts of automating your business. So the three main hurdles I found in my business to break $1 million and well beyond or businesses that have already broke $1 million but are just buried in the chaos of the business of firefighting, is literally sales, employees, and repetitive tasks. So we're going to be looking at the sales process today and automating that, if I'm not mistaken, Dylan.
Yep, you got it. That's where we're going to begin. So I think I can skip over this one. I think everybody knows who we are, but I like to start with the typical sales cycle. So this is kind of unique. You need to kind of address where you are potentially now, not everybody, and then we can kind of determine the best path forward. But I guess where we're at, kind of in between Memorial Day and July 4th here, a lot of people might be, let's see if I can you see my mouse here? No.
Slightly.
Okay. So a lot of people might be in the green box on the right-hand side, the fourth box that says gets very busy, right? You've realized you got to ramp up the marketing. You've probably done some form of marketing, and now you're in this stage where you're putting out fires. You're extremely, extremely busy. And you're thinking like, okay, we just had a nice little long weekend. Maybe you worked the entire long weekend. We need to push just to keep up with the workflow that we're having now up until July 4th. And then maybe we'll take a breather after that when things slow down. It's a really, really common mistake that people make. It's kind of counterintuitive. You wouldn't think you need to be, pressing on the gas pedal when you're already super, super busy. But this is where people tend to take their foot off the gas pedal. And then they're wondering why their pipeline kind of dries up in July, August, September, October, and they're maybe not hitting some lofty sales goals that they've set, right? So when work slows and then you attempt to drum up the work, which is kind of the last green box, the process the timeline from deciding, hey, we got to drum up some more work to getting very busy again, that could be a month or a 2-month long process, right? So this needs to be kind of an ideally automated, but a continuous sales machine that's going all throughout the year and not with like these troughs and valleys, right? Where you're getting very busy and then really, really slow.
So it almost sounds like if we have that sales pipeline or funnel, Dylan, if you only got the really hot ones that are right here at the bottom ready to go and you don't have anything up top, as it starts to filter down and you actually need to pick the pace back up, it's too late because that sales cycle could be several weeks, a month, maybe 2 months, depending on the time of the season. So being constantly in front of people through educational content and hitting on the pain points is probably going to be a great solution, I'm imagining.
Yeah, that's a great point. And just consistent marketing, right, it is going to allow you to have more time in the spring rush. And, for us in the fall rush, when we were getting ready for snow removal, if you can get a lot of these things out of the way earlier, such as renewing all your customers or, having the early birds all attended to so that when people are making that last minute decision, you actually have the time to talk to those people and close those sales right away. All these little things start to add up. But if what we're showing you here, we kind of jokingly say this is like the typical sales cycle. Doesn't mean everybody's doing this, but a lot of people are doing this. They're just working so hard during their heavy points of the season, and then things get slow. You kind of want that to be stabilized, so it's a little bit more of a predictable workflow. If this is your current workflow, right, some of the kind of the side effects, right, is you're literally kind of pouring money down the drain by neglecting a lot of these leads. You're paying to acquire them. Maybe you're doing Facebook ads or even just word of mouth that you've invested so much time to have a good reputation, and then someone calls you and you're too busy to even get back to them, right? So you're neglecting your leads. You as the business owner kind of become frustrated because you're pulling your hair out working those dreaded 100-hour weeks like you had mentioned, Mike, and even then it still kind of feels like you're not getting everything done that you should be, right? And at a certain point, you can't just throw more time at an issue, right? You need to take a couple steps back and get things a little bit more systematized. And then the definitely the end result here is plateaued growth, right? At least at my company, the first couple of years before we had an actual automated sales system and we were really starting to ramp things up and everything was kind of flowing symbiotically, our growth was maybe not plateaued, but we were just kind of trucking along, right? Maybe 10, 20% growth, which might seem okay if you were a large company, but at that point, almost a decade ago now, we were talking very, very low sales numbers. That's where you should be easily growing, 50, maybe even 100% per year when we're only talking about $50,000 or $100,000 of sales. Once the sales actually ramped up quite a bit and we had this automated system, we were able to be hitting 50, 100% growth per year. And we'll talk some of those stats anyways later on, even though our sales figures were much, much higher at this point. So the actual absolute value of sales that we were adding each year was extremely substantial.
Interesting. One thing you hit on there, Dylan, was plateaued growth. So I know a couple guys in the Facebook groups were talking about this recently, that believe it or not, only about 3 to 5% of all lawn care businesses, 7 to 10% of all small businesses in the United States and Canada, North America, ever break $1 million. And where they die is that 750 to just under $1 million kind of like trap of death. And this is where I think when we figure out how to sell and how to automate, that plateaued growth can exponentially go. So working with hundreds of service businesses, lawn care and home cleaning, we're seeing a lot of our clients at SimpleGrowth, Dylan, literally hitting that 750 or 850 mark and literally skyrocketing past that in a year, maybe a year and a half. So the idea of seeing this just in not only my business and Dylan's business and a few others on the SimpleGrowth team, but actually to have hundreds of clients and a good portion of them coming to us either right before or right after $1 million and seeing that skyrocketing off that plateau is exactly what Dylan's talking about here. So Dylan, I can't wait to see how you actually go in and create this automated process to exponentially blast through that growth plateau. Because I know that's one thing in the early days that I was like, I'm just kind of going along. And then boom, once it was automated, we went through and dominated it.
Yeah. I think it was maybe Jonathan Potoshnik, or I heard it somewhere, but they're saying up into $1 million or $1.5 million, your only goal should be getting past that mark, because everything becomes so much easier after that mark. And that kind of brings back home why I said at the beginning, you got to focus on sales first. Because a lot of these issues that I just don't have time to do this or whatever it might be, it can ideally be handled by an automation. But sometimes you actually need to make some critical hires in the business. If you don't have an office manager or you don't have a salesperson, right, that's strictly focusing on that. But you can't do that at $400,000 a year in sales. You can't have all these extra admin roles in the company, right? So a lot of that gets resolved literally just through growth. So, obviously our automations help with kind of diverting and not hitting that growth plateau and getting stuck there. So, simple growth automations, we'll break it down at a high level, but any type of legitimate system that you're using are going to help to accomplish these things. I guess the really important thing here is and the difference between, potentially just setting up a couple random automations and what we do at SimpleGrowth is it is an actual system. We didn't just kind of pick a bunch of random automations and say, well, this is going to be for billing and maybe we'll do this over here too. They literally all work in conjunction so that the customer journey from requesting a quote all the way to receiving their invoices and potentially getting promoted some other services, they all need to be working together. Obviously, Mike has mentioned, our automations were crafted by people that were in the trenches and have actually endured some of these pain points that you're probably experiencing right now. This wasn't just someone in the tech industry that put this system together. And then the last part here is, I know the focus here is kind of around sales automations, but it's not just sales focused. Even some of our sales packages that are called sales packages, they also start to free up a lot of time in the office that we'll get to as well.
Yeah, and one of the things you hit on, Dylan, is just it's not just thrown together. So this is thousands and thousands of emails and text messages and call scripts. So like an example, I mean, I have, but basically, imagine if somebody requests an estimate, and in that estimate, we follow up multiple times over 20 days over different communication channels. But if it doesn't look automated, it sounds obvious now saying it, it actually converts better. So the second communication we sent out 20 days, in the 20-day follow-up of an estimate, if it's not won or lost, is an email that actually looks like it's out of your cell phone. It looks like it's sent from your iPhone. It's a quick 2-liner. Like, hey, Mrs. Smith, haven't heard back from you. I was wondering if you want me to save you a spot on the list this season for that lawn mowing, sent from Mike and iPhone. Obviously, it's not sent from the iPhone, but it's not branded. It's not logoed up, and it's just plain, simple text that looks like it's from the salesperson, the business owner's cell phone. But I would tell you, 20% of the sales that we won, and a pretty close percentage with 1 or 2% either way, of all the sales that are won on that one email without ever talking to the person. So the concept of automation is the first part, but then the best practice of talking to the person specifically where they're at in their customer journey or the customer life cycle. And that's where we're starting to see a huge, huge success of a multiple levels of success of it jumping up and up and up and up as far as return on investment for folks in building this out. So if you're building yourself, you definitely want to make sure it's personalized but automated, and it speaks to the client or lead where they're at in their journey.
Yeah, no, that's great stuff. And I guess the last point here, just before I go to the next slide, is another big benefit is like all these tasks, they add up time-wise, right? You might think, I'm not really spending that much time sending out these emails and talking to leads and doing all this stuff, but it does aggregate into quite a substantial amount of time each year and each month. By automating a lot of these processes, it frees you up for doing bigger and better things that are a little bit more difficult to be automated. Yes, you can automate portions of it, but things like quality control, production, right? If you're super swamped and you're just trying to get the work done and keep the waiting list emptied, you're probably not going to have the most efficient production, as if in retrospect, the owner, or in comparison, the owner had nothing to do except for focus on production. Well, who's going to be more efficient, right? And then recruiting. This is another massive pain point right now. Everybody's having trouble finding labor. Well, are you dedicating almost your entire day to finding labor? Or is this kind of an afterthought where you maybe slapped an ad online or, posted something on Indeed and hope for the best, right? These companies, like, larger companies like Amazon and Walmart, recruiting isn't an afterthought for these companies, right? It's in the front of their mind. This is something that they spend a good portion of their time, because these employees are the lifeblood of your business. But if you're stuck doing these kind of monotonous tasks, how are you going to spend, a good amount of your week recruiting?
A big shout out to Rudy Roeder as well in the house. Long-time Canadian friend. Absolutely. So what's the difference between automations and regular marketing? A lot of people probably know this, but they're extremely cost effective, right? You need to be, as a business owner, finding something where you can put $1 in. This is just hypothetical, but you put $1 in and you get $100 worth of sales out of it. Maybe that's not realistic. $1 to $10, let's say, right? If you're putting $1 into your marketing, whether it's like, let's say, Facebook ads or Google ads or postcards, whatever that might be, and you're getting $1.05 out of that, yes, there's some return on your marketing dollars there, but that's not going to, make you super appealing to a potential company that wants to buy you out. That's not going to allow you to reinvest in more marketing and buy equipment and all this other stuff, right? So you need to find a really unique method where you have an extremely high return on your advertising dollars. And that's really where automations come into play. Obviously, it's building out your sales machine, right? Having consistent things going out and drumming up business all throughout the year. And it really works in conjunction. We get this question a lot, like, if I was to do this and everything works, can I stop my regular marketing? Well, I would definitely not recommend that. We have seen some people being able to reduce the amount that they're spending on their regular marketing because they've realized that the golden nugget is in their database of people that we can conjure up more business with. But really, it supplements the regular marketing really well. I know for me, like, even just having something as simple as 20 days to close, when we would do a round of postcards, it took a little bit of the pressure off of us because we'd have such an influx of people contacting us
And we knew we were kind of able to just get them in the database. A lot of them were filling out an estimate form on our website. They were getting into the database, and we were able to launch out quotes very, very quickly and not really have to worry about if these leads were slipping through the cracks because we had an estimate follow-up system. And God forbid they didn't accept the proposal, well, they were still in our system, and we were going to be upselling them throughout the year as well. Okay, so let's break down the automations. So some people must have seen this chart before, but essentially this is the system that we're talking about. If you want to have a fully automated system,
Dylan, are you? I'm sorry to cut you off. Are you showing the screen right now as far as the flow chart? I'm seeing the hand shaking right now. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Without a hiccup today, brother. We are live. We're working out it Wednesday, so we're in the trenches. So
hiccup free so far. Thank
absolutely. God. So we're good. But yeah, diving this on. So this is, I guess if I could take a minute just to kind of explain where this actually all came out of. Like this literally was on a napkin in a bar with some automation experts, top of the country, U.S. and Canada, dialing in. And I said, here's my different pain points. Here's the things in my business that are the biggest pain points that are killing my personal life and my bandwidth. How do I actually get that out of my head and start to automate these pieces? So hundreds and hundreds of businesses using this process right now, but this was built for my lawn care business with no intentions of ever sharing or even reselling it probably 8 or 9 years ago. But this is the exact process that I used in my business, then Dylan's used his, and hundreds of others. So we're really in the mindset of abundance. Even if you aren't going to work with SimpleGrowth, we want to show you how to dissect the life cycle of a business and automate the entire thing. And with the new shift in buying habits, on-demand buying, automated bots as well. So we're not going to get into conversational marketing or bots today, but in the graphic, Dylan is explaining at least a little bit how that kind of ties in omni-channel communication or omni-channel marketing. Isn't a thing of the future, folks. It's here. It's live today. So are you going to be the early adopter to go out and out-organize, out-automate, and out-dominate your competitors? And I know you're going to get into it, Dylan, but I just want to hit on it really quickly. If you're not following up 5 or more times through multiple communication points on your estimates, you're losing out on 80% of the sales in your market. So you may be thinking like, hey, if I did all this, there's no physical way I could double or triple my business every year. Well, imagine if you're missing out on 80% of the pie in your local market just because you aren't consistently following up over multiple communication challenges. I was skeptical myself, but I tell you, we see it, we've done it, and we have a ton of clients that are doing it as well. So if you want a roadmap to work on it and not work in it, and if you're working in it right now, folks, and you want to work on it and get off that truck or get out of that estimate vehicle, this is going to be your roadmap to success. So buckle up, Dylan is about to take on basically a roadmap to automated success. So Dylan, wheels yours, man, but I just wanted to kind of highlight some of that as well.
Yeah, great points. I hear that all the time. Like, are you following up on your quotes? No, we don't have time to. And, it's just kind of, you slap your head thinking, geez, you are literally wasting a ton of money. And even if you don't have the capacity to take on 100% more sales, well, if I could just be closing 80% more sales with the flip of a switch, essentially, look at the other things you could potentially do. You could maybe double your prices. It doesn't mean you're gouging the market, but there's a ton of other stuff you could do if you do have limited capacity.
And Dylan, I know you're going to hit on this, but the other thing is the biggest pain point is we're not following up on our estimates consistently because we don't have the time. We're too busy. Mm-hmm. Well, what about all the people in your database, your CRM, or all the estimates that you've lost? So like literally, when I used to lose an estimate, I used to crumple it up and get rid of it. They don't want me. But what you're really doing is throwing away a lead that you've paid for. So through this automated process, we're not only closing existing customers and existing estimates, but we're going to go in and bucket all the people who've lost an estimate. And if you want them, if they're not crazy, all the people who've canceled your services. And we're going to go out and work that whole entire list. And then Dylan's going to show you the magic of upsells and expansion, how to take that list and continue to grow and double and triple the value of that client. But if this sounds like you have to estimates or you don't do anything with the estimates you've lost, and you don't reactivate your canceled clients, because 80% of those folks are indifferent. They don't love you, they don't hate you, but they just canceled. Maybe they found the low baller down the street. Now the customer service sucks and they need somebody else. They haven't forgot about you, but they will if you don't follow up and stay in communication. So kind of a preview of what Dylan's getting in there, but those 3 pain points, I hear it all the time. I was victim to it. Got to follow up on the estimates. You've got to take a way to bundle all the people that have never converted into clients, and then all the canceled clients to reactivate. And then how do we take that whole entire bucket of 3 people and continue to expand and double and triple that lifetime value?
Yep. Yeah. So the foundational part of all of this is, are these people even in your database? So that's why the very left-hand side of the chart here starts with basically a website estimate request form. Now, I'd say most of the guys and girls that have been using Service Autopilot for a while probably have this form, and you might be thinking that too, but really it's not the case. A lot of people don't have a Service Autopilot estimate form or any CRM estimate form on their website that is funneling leads directly into the CRM without no double entry.
Yep. And Dylan, I'm glad you mentioned that. So yes, we obviously automate on Service Autopilot. We're a certified advisor. We also are certified partners with Infusionsoft or Keep now. And no matter your CRM or your software platform, this can be done on most platforms by SimpleGrowth or by yourself if you're going out to buy a platform. But so this is Service Autopilot, this is Jobber, this is ZenMaid, Service Titan, a bunch of other platforms as well. So this is applicable. So no matter your software platform, don't turn this off, because Work on It Wednesdays is going to be software independent. It is service-based business. So we're going to show you how to do this in any business. And even if you're not using a software platform, some of the stuff we're diving into is going to be just literally, these are the things you need to do working on when you're not working in the business. So go ahead, Dylan. I just wanted to make that clear, because a lot of people think that this is only for people using one platform, but really this is platform independent, folks. We can build this and help you build it on multiple software platforms.
Yep, great point, Mike. Misspoke by saying Service Autopilot. That's the one that I specifically used in my business. So that's what
myself as well. Yep. So I mean, definitely can be done on SA. Great platform, but we do have some people that just aren't on Service Autopilot. So we've recreated these in a platform that runs parallel to your existing software as well.
Exactly. So we need as many people in the database that we can get in order to have the marketing campaigns and other things that we'll talk about be as effective as possible. So even if you literally don't have a CRM, right now you're running everything off pen and paper, probably the most valuable thing you can do is start collecting names, emails, and addresses in something like a Google Sheet. The first couple of years, at least in my business, the amount of missed opportunity, we were even sending out postcards. So we had actually pretty decent lead flow, but we were not capturing any of those leads information. And that's a common thing I hear with people. They're starting to look at a CRM and they're like, I got maybe 30 clients. Okay, well, you probably have 100 or 200 other leads that should be in your database that we can start marketing right off the bat. And they typically don't have those, right? So scour through your Gmail or whatever you're using and look for old conversations. Take a couple minutes when things are slow, compile those emails so that we can get them in the database. But that's what that form on your website is going to do. Anybody who requests an estimate is going to automatically be entered into your database. And a lot of people don't have that as the kickoff point for their automations. They think, okay, well, I'll wait to get to them and send them an estimate, and then maybe some automations will start. Well, that's a common mistake. You might think, okay, I'm on top of my leads right now, but if you're running effective upsell campaigns where you could realistically have a couple hundred new quote requests come in overnight, well, you need to have some automations that are nurturing them up until the point of an estimate. Right? You can't make all of your decisions on your systems based off what's my current lead flow. You kind of need to look a little bit to the future and say, if my lead flow does expand, do I have the systems in place today to actually be able to handle that? And that's where the lead letter and the pre-estimate sequence or the before estimate sequence really comes into play. A lot of people neglect this, and then they wonder why they have low conversion rates on their quotes. Right? Not everybody has the time to go to every property to meet the customers like they might have, 5 or 10 years ago. So more and more people are trying to just quote off of a software and send those quotes out and, follow up on those quotes. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Dylan, so just to hit on this, so people may not be aware of what this really looks like fully dialed in, but you've got your estimate request off the website. So folks are going to fill that out. And you have underneath it, you've got the office literally typing it in, whether it's your office or a virtual assistant. They're in the software. So automatically this lead letter is fired off. And these are the 5 or 6 main reasons why you're different. So off the bat, you've differentiated yourself from all the other competitors, and you're different. So now we're not selling on price, but based on them filling out or calling the office, that short-term nurture is going to be a series of communications, timed out, not spammy, but it's education. So what they're going to do is frame you as the expert in your market. So if we're going in, let's say for lawn mowing, we're going to talk about maybe proper mowing height, how to sharpen and balance the blades, and maybe proper irrigation to go. So what we're really doing is teaching them how to do the service themselves as a professional. We're creating a higher perceived value to allow you to charge the highest price in your market. Now, in addition, let's face it, folks, people don't trust contractors and they don't trust themselves to hire a contractor. There's a lot of bad conceptions of a contractor, which we're all professionals here. That doesn't apply to 99% of us. So why not address the elephant in the room? So if you've ever read the book, They Ask, You Answer by Marcus Sheridan, Marcus Sheridan was doing that in his company, River Pools and Spas. Same thing that we're showing here, I was doing in Callahan's Lawn Care. But what we did is we answered the questions or the things on people's minds ahead of the actual question being answered. So the automation does this now. And if you end up working with us, this is pre-built with 130 documents or more with pre-built marketing content. So you're like, Mike, there's no way I could write marketing content. I'm a service business owner. That's okay. We got you covered. We've got content written for you that you can manipulate and update. But the idea is, if I'm hiring a lawn care contractor, my biggest concern, Dylan, would be, is someone going to close the fence gate behind them when they leave the property? Because I don't want the pets running out of the backyard, and I definitely don't want the kids running out of the backyard. Or even worse, I don't want somebody coming into the backyard and drowning in the pool. So in your short-term education, we're going to educate them as a professional how to do it themselves so you can charge the highest price, and any of the things that slow down that sales process. So sales and price objections, we address them up front and instill confidence in your future consumer to hire you because you are now different than everybody else. And this process is all completely automated and personalized based on the particular service they're interested in. So folks, this isn't just throwing it against the wall and hoping it sticks. This is a dialed in systematic process of talking to them where they're at in the life cycle. So Dylan, what happens now that we've educated them, differentiated, overcome the sales and price objections before we've ever even given them an estimate? We send out that estimate. How are you following up on that?
Yeah, so another automated follow-up here, right? So once that quote is actually sent out, even if you go and drop it off in person, you can basically tell the system that we've sent the quote, and the automation is going to actually follow up on the estimate for you. Now, Mike alluded to this earlier, but people often make the mistake of having a big fancy email with company images and logos and stuff like that. That looks automated. Right? In some of these automations, you need to take the opposite approach, and not really being facetious here or kind of
not shady. We're just making it feel personal.
Not shady, but exactly. You want this to literally sound like something that you would type out, right? So basically, you mentioned earlier omni-channel communication. You can't just rely on phone calls. You can't just rely on emails. You can't just rely on text messages. You need to be using a combination of the three. And a proper combination, right? We've literally tested this over many, many years. I think we're on version 25 or 26 of this, where we've noticed little things work better than others, and we make those adjustments.
Yeah, and we just keep refining it. So that, Dylan, you mentioned that's perfect. But we're going to go through automated email, obviously, automated text message, and this can be done through multiple platforms. So Service Autopilot or Infusionsoft by Keep on the other platforms. So we're going to do automated email, automated text messaging. And we're going to do phone calls. So phone calls are with a script, literally, that would be assigned to Dylan. Hey, Dylan, it's been 3 days since we dropped off the lawn mowing estimate for Mrs. Smith. This is what to say. If she says the price is too high, this is how we overcome the sales and price objection. And by the way, if she signs up, this is what we do in the software. If she doesn't sign up, this is what we do. If she says, I'm not sure if I'm going to hire you guys or not, I'm price shopping, this is what you do in the software. So we've created a predictable system that doesn't rely on the business owner or manager to babysit the process. Now, you may say, Mike and Dylan, hey, I'm still in the truck or I'm running the office. I don't have time to make phone calls. You're crazy. That's okay. There's a solution. we use a thing called a ringless voicemail bomb. And what that does is it hits the cell phone on file, looks like a missed call, and leaves a pre-recorded message. So like literally if I was calling Dylan 3 days after the estimate, this ringless voicemail bomb would kick in, hit his cell phone, look like a missed call. When he checked that voicemail, it would literally be like, hey, it's Mike from Callahan's Lawn Care. So sorry I missed you. Wanted to leave you this voicemail. We dropped off your estimate 3 days ago. If you have any questions, call me back at this number. Otherwise, feel free to accept the online estimate. But man, if that's a little bit nervous and jerky, Dylan, no one's going to suspect a lawn care home cleaning company to actually do a ringless voicemail bomb. Boom, you've just outworked, you've out-organized and automated everyone in your market most likely. So that is the systematic way we're going out and closing these sales through an automated process. But closing the sale isn't just enough. We've got to go in and get them acclimated and welcome to the business. So I know, Dylan, you're going to be jumping into the welcome and wow process. How do we automate that process, complete with getting a credit card on file? Because I know, at least even at SimpleGrowth, that's a pain in the butt. Like, it's hard to do. People are busy.
Yeah. So if you have some receivables right now that these receivables are growing and you're having trouble collecting from people, well, it's probably because we didn't ask for a credit card right off the bat before we even got them scheduled into the system. So that is kind of what we recommend, that before you schedule someone in and actually move forward with them as a client, that you get a credit card on file. And if you're waiting till the next morning to contact this person and call them and get their credit card, they've almost gone cold again. And that could be a 2 or sometimes even a 3-day process where you catch them when they're driving and so on and so forth, right? So you want this to be an automated process that the minute that they accept a quote, we're welcoming them to the company, of course, then we're also specifying that we need your credit card basically right away just to be put on file. And then we're going to charge you after the service or however you actually perform your billing. But by asking for that almost instantly, whenever they're doing their browsing and actually accepting your proposal, so this could be 11 p.m. at night when they're finally getting around to this and accepting the proposal. You want to be asking for the credit card at 11:01 p.m. at night, right after that. So that's a common mistake that we see. But that's kind of the welcome portion, right? We're welcoming them to the company. We're grabbing their payment information automatically. Another misstep that people do is they're so focused on the sales that the after-sales support really diminishes, right? If you're a high-growth company, the last thing you want is to be growing crazy only to have a high churn coming out the back door, right? So you want to be making sure that these customers are basically wowed in the first 90 days that they're a new customer of yours. That's kind of the most crucial period where if they're having a bad experience, right, which does happen, you need to rectify that essentially immediately so that customer doesn't just phase out at the end of the season and doesn't re-sign up with you.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. My mind is blown. This is crazy. So this is all automated, and obviously it doesn't happen overnight. If you're building yourself, this can be turned on very quickly if you end up working with SimpleGrowth. But the idea, Dylan, that I want to kind of retouch on a couple things. As soon as that client becomes a client, that lead becomes a client, now we're talking to them as a client. So if you require a credit card on file, things that get missed when they're busy, we get the card on file. That welcome email goes out and acclimates them, lets them know what to expect when working with your business and welcomes to your service business. Dylan hit on it. 30, 60, and 90-day follow-up. That's the biggest cancellation or churn area. Now, what happens if they sign up for a one-time service? Well, we're not going to follow up 30 and 60, 90 days. We're going to have an automated but personalized, almost personalized looking email coming from your office or you saying, hey, how was that one-time service? But if it's a reoccurring service like lawn mowing or home cleaning, we're going to go out and follow up multiple times at 30, 60, and 90 days because that's the biggest cancellation point. So in my business, what I would find is the response to the personalized looking email would be like, hey, the guys and girls are doing a great job mowing the lawn, but they're occasionally not blowing off the back patio. And that was a big pain point for customers. So we were able to go in and fix it before they canceled. Now, those are some of the biggest things there. Now, in addition, newsletters aren't dead if you're doing them right. We go out monthly and educate people through a newsletter, what they should be doing in their yard or home in advance. So we're going to tell them how to do it, when they should do it, maybe a soft one line at the bottom. By the way, we're here to help. That's going to go out to everybody in the database. That's going to be your leads, your clients, your canceled clients, if you wanted to. Then what I'm going to recommend is you segment your database. So leads and clients. So maybe there's special promotions or information you want to send your leads and you don't want to alienate your client base that's already signed up. So we've got that kind of figured out, lead and client mid-month communication. And then Dylan, you kind of talked about customer satisfaction. So if you wouldn't mind kind of talking about our cancellation risk automation, NPS to social review, that we also do. And depending on the platform, we do have some financial automations, not necessarily sales, but they're kind of supporting the sales process to make sure that we are indeed getting paid on time. And if we're not getting paid, we have some solutions for that, obviously.
Yeah, so the 5-star review automation kind of works hand in hand with the cancellation risk report. Both very, very important. You mentioned the 30, 60, and the 90-day onboarding process. Well, that's great, right? That's going to reduce churn. You can't neglect your clients after that, though, right? You want these clients staying for much longer than 90 days. You want them staying for 10 years plus, right? So occasionally you need to be surveying these customers. And I know it's a little bit of a scary thought. You probably haven't done this before, and you're wondering, hey, am I going to get some negative feedback? Well, you might, but 9 times out of 10, that feedback that you actually receive is easily fixable, right? And people aren't asking their clients these questions. And then the client goes and signs up with someone else, and you're like, wow, I really thought Mrs. Jones was getting pretty good service. I drove by her house once or twice, and everything looked great. But like you said, Mike, maybe they love spending time on their back patio, and the guys would never blow that area off, or whatever it is. A cleaning example where the main bathroom that these people use didn't receive the fine touches that it should have. Whatever that might be, you can fix it, but you need to know about those issues first. And what the cancellation risk report does is it bundles up all those responses into something that you can actually take action on. If you're just getting these responses and they're going to your email or wherever they're going, stuck in your CRM, it's not super actionable. You need this condensed into a report where the higher levels at your team, maybe that's an office manager, the owner, and maybe the sales team, and potentially some head crew leaders or foremen, are looking at this report and saying, how is the company actually doing? So what it's going to break down is your promoters of the company, so people that are rating you favorably and why they're rating you favorably. And we're actually going to ask those customers for a review on either Facebook or Google or wherever you'd like. So these 5-star reviews or 4+ star reviews are going to just to start to trickle in automatically. And they're not relying on, you, Mike, feeling up to it when a customer says something positive about the company, and then you reaching out at the end of the day saying, hey, would you be willing to leave us a review on Facebook, right? All this needs to be automated and not rely on someone at the company feeling up to it.
Yeah, and let's face it, asking for reviews sometimes is awkward. We forget. But now we figured out, Dylan, in this process, crazy enough, we've organized the process. We know how to get that lead through the sales process and nurture them and close the sale. We figured out how to automate it. Now, how do we actually go out and dominate? So taking that successful, organized, and automated business and doubling and tripling the client lifetime value. I'm guessing by looking at the screen, there's 2 different types of upsells, a traditional upsell, and then maybe we can empower our crews on site to actually do property-specific upsells based on the deficiencies or opportunities we're seeing on their property. So would you mind speaking to what the next step of it, automating this process and going out and just basically dominating to double and triple that client lifetime value through upsells and on-site upsells? And folks, I know Dylan is pretty modest, but a lot of these have been set up, these automated upsells. If you're in the different service industry Facebook groups, people are talking about these upsells, 70 to 80 estimate requests in 2 to 3 hours, 5 to 8 times a year. Like literally, we've gone out and helped so many businesses go from that 750, 850 mark to $1 million and well beyond, just by doubling their client lifetime value. So like these people are here, they want to buy more services, but they just don't know you're offering them. So you're doing your customer a disjustice and yourself if you don't go out and create an upsell process. It's systematic and based on the customer lifestyle. We'll get more into how we don't alienate it. But the worst thing you can do, and I get it from multiple different organizations and franchises, is they blast out like, hey, it's time to do your fertilization weed control. Click here to get an estimate if you haven't already signed up. What are you telling your client at that point? You don't care about them. You're just literally just there to spam them and try to make more money off them. You don't care if they've actually had the service or where they're at in the life cycle. So Dylan, if you wouldn't mind kind of expanding on what is an upsell, how does it work when we automate it, and then how can we actually empower our team in the field to upsell as well?
Yeah, so the upsell itself is a little bit of a misnomer. Yes, we're upselling and increasing the value of some of your customers, but also some of these are just going to be regular kind of email marketing campaigns that can go out to, let's say, just your leads. When people think of an upsell, they think of a client of mine who maybe had just signed up for lawn mowing or home cleaning, we want to upsell another thing to, which is right for a lot of this. But I just want to make sure that we're thinking of it in a broader spectrum, where we can also be promoting your services to, like you said earlier, the people who haven't accepted a quote from you, that had requested a quote, but did not actually decide to move forward with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Stop throwing that trash in the garbage with those estimates. Dylan is going to, I'm glad you mentioned that, Dylan. So it's not just an upsell to your current client base, but it's a reactivation process for your lost leads and canceled clients. Great point.
Exactly. And you mentioned if you're not following up on your quotes over 5 times, you're missing out on 80% of the sales. Well, then how about all those people in your database that you probably haven't talked to in a while that never accepted a quote from you, maybe even never requested a quote from you? How many sales opportunities are you missing there, right? These numbers start to become very, very large. So what these upsell campaigns do is systematically, at the proper time to be promoting this service, we, through the automation, are essentially pre-segmenting this list. So this is another major hurdle that I see with a lot of people is they're spending hours on the weekend when they have a little bit of free time. They should be probably hanging out with the family. They're trying to segment their list and making sure that these emails aren't going out to the incorrect people, customers who have already signed up for that service. So through these upsell automations that we've carefully set up, these lists are pre-segmented. So if someone has this service, they're not receiving the upsell for it. So you're not kind of catching that black eye like you mentioned, Mike, where Mrs. Jones already has the service and she receives this uncustomized email. And now all of a sudden, she might not even think she signed up with you anymore. And she might start going and shopping your service because, well, she just received an email from you saying, hey, do you want to sign up for your midsummer fertilization or whatever that might be, grub control. So having this pre-segmented is extremely, extremely important. And this is where we're starting to see some of those oversized returns that I was talking about earlier. Right? When you start to get a couple hundred people up to a couple thousand people, we'll show you an example after this of some of the results you can get when your database gets larger. This is where, like Mike said, you can start to have 80, 200, 400, like I'll show you in just a second here, quote requests come in overnight. So these are the kind of results that you need to be thinking about and making sure that you have the systems in place to handle these types of influxes of business. The other thing, kind of in contrast to the upsell, right? These are going out to your database. The crew upsell is a different type of upsell, and I'm glad you touched on this, Mike, because I actually recently saw this in a Facebook group where someone was planning on letting their crews essentially dictate which nurture campaign these leads or these customers were getting sent into. And I don't know about you, but the way that we have it set up now at SimpleGrowth, I wouldn't want to trust my guys out in the field that much to be able to dictate which campaigns these customers are getting entered into. So there can be some major missteps if these aren't set up properly. So the way that we do this, think of a furnace or an AC company that's coming to do a semi-annual or an annual inspection. Right? When they come and they notice some issues with the furnace, let's say, and they make some recommendations, 9 times out of 10, you're thinking, I'm not the expert. These guys have a good reputation. If it needs it, just get it done. Go ahead with it. Right? And that essentially is an upsell. But those upsells get 80 to 100% closing rates because they are the expert. Right? So that's the process that we're instituting here with our crew upsell, where you have all these eyes and ears out in the field or out in homes looking at these issues, seeing them every day. But do you have a regimented process where they need to be relaying these issues back to you or a sales rep so that they can call the customer if applicable? So at least at my company, I'd say about 30 to 40% of the time, some of these upsell opportunities weren't really valid because the guys out in the field don't realize that Mrs. Jones just signed up for our fertilization weed control program. So we wouldn't want to enter her into a nurture campaign for weed control and fertilization, and then you have that black eye, right? So all this needs to be very, very carefully crafted, and those are kind of the 2 main forms of upsells. that are really going to move the needle when it comes to your sales at the end of the year.
Huge. Couldn't have said it better myself, Dylan. So I really appreciate breaking that down and what a fully automated service business can look like. From little lead acquisition to pre-estimate education, overcoming sales and price objections, raising a higher perceived value, charge the highest price in your market, follow up and close those estimates 5 or more times across different channels. We go in, we welcome, we wow them, we follow up for 90 days to make sure that cancellation's been there. We continue to nurture your leads, your clients, and canceled clients through mid-month and beginning of month conversations. We go out to make sure if they are happy, we go out and get them the social review. If they're not happy, we get them back and figure out what's going wrong with them. And then we go out and continue to double and triple that client lifetime value for existing clients. But we don't ignore all the people that have come into our database that have never accepted an estimate or canceled. And the crazy people, we can get them out too, because everybody has them. So you don't want to upsell a crazy. Like we've done that, made that mistake. So we built that in the automation. But man, Dylan, I'm telling you that this is huge, mind blowing. I know on work on it Wednesdays, we're gonna get into automations and bots, but you kind of see the bottom of the screen there. We've got that messenger bot from Facebook, Instagram, your website, or a QR code, or texting in, and that drives right into the automated process. So we'll dive into that on another Working on Wednesday, how that bot can tie into this whole process and automate it. Unbelievable, brother. What else you got for us here on Work on it Wednesdays?
So 2 quick examples. So this is my company here. Basically, we were a very, very early adopter of these automations. And I just wanted to kind of just outline like the percentage of growth that you can have. You don't need to accept, well, all I can really afford to grow is 5 or 10% per year. If there's substantial opportunity in your market, you really need to seize that, or else someone else is going to. Could be an established competitor, could be a smaller competitor, but it's not always just there for the taking forever. I can't think of a more clear example as to these tractors here. At the time when we were expanding super, super rapidly in our residential snow removal side of the business, there was only one other competitor. And there were certain days where we were making 40 or 50 sales in a single day. Now, I think there's 7 or 8 companies that have these tractors. So sometimes you actually have a very, very small window to cement yourself as the leader in this area. And, there's advantages to being a first mover, but in this case, there was some significant advantages to being more well-known. And a lot of this model was volume. So, this is kind of just a rough example, but from 2017 to 2019, when we actually had built up the sales to a pretty substantial amount, we still didn't rest on our laurels and say, well, only 5 to 10% is possible. We actually grew basically 200% over the final 2 years that I had my business before I sold it. And that rapid growth actually is what attracted the purchaser. Another quick example here. Sometimes people will say, okay, you get some good results with your email campaigns. What should I be expecting? I maybe have a bigger database, and I only got a handful of quotes that I only won 25% of them. Well, we have some clients that have very, very sizable databases. And this in particular client had 4,500 clients and leads. And that's really the number you need to be looking at. What's the total marketable amount of people in the database? So this example here was a fall aeration and overseed upsell, which in about a month and a half time, this is when these promotions are going to start to run again for this particular client. So with this 4,500 people that he was able to market to through the SimpleGrowth upsell, he actually almost got 10% response rate of people actually accepting a quote. So, this is not a rarity, I would say, but this was a great example of a very successful upsell campaign where, people would pay $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 to do a postcard campaign to get 430 quote requests. So tying it back to one of the first things I said about finding these ways where you can invest $1 and get $10 back, right? This is kind of one of those ways where very low cost way to get an enormous return.
Wow. Imagine what that would look like 5 to 8 times a year.
Exactly, right? This isn't the only upsell that he ran. This was kind of just cherry picked to show when these things work, they work great. And I guarantee his database is not 4,500 people. come 2021 upsell time, right? That's probably
No,
five.
Continue to get the common effect.
Exactly. So quick second last slide here, I believe. Basically, we talked about this, right? We tried to keep it pretty broad scope, but it's not just lawn care or home cleaning that can use these types of automations, right? Home cleaning, landscaping, design, build, weed control, fertilization, window cleaning, pressure washing, snow removal, pet waste removal. There's so many companies that can be using automations to their advantage. I probably left out a ton there.
There's, I believe last count is 116 services, boat charters, gopher control, window cleaning. It's on there. The list goes on and on and on. The crazy thing is those 116, called 100 services, we have pre-built industry-specific and service-specific marketing content for these things. So absolutely, take that flow chart, go out and build it yourself. But if you're like, guys, this is way too much, I don't have the time or even the skill set to write marketing copy and emails and text messages and call scripts, wait to the end here in the next slide or two. We got a special offer for you, but we've done the work for you. Tried and tested, thousands and thousands of emails, hundreds of clients. Dylan and I both have used this in our seven-figure plus businesses. And we found the biggest pain point is people don't want to write marketing copy. Well, that's great. I didn't either in the early days. So we've written every email, every text message, every call script. Everything you need is in here, service and industry specific, and you can go in and customize it to your liking, and you own that document forever. But if that's your biggest hurdle is time, you don't have time or you don't know what to say, we've got that covered. And like Dylan said, we continue to tweak and update these things. So we're on version 25 or 26 of just our automated estimate, 20 days to close follow-up. So, and these are refined specifically for the service industry. Dylan and I and the SimpleGrowth team are living in the same trenches you're living in still. And we understand how it needs to operate inside your particular industry and service business. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Dylan. But if you have a service business, even down to bin washing, you name it, we have pretty much automated with success.
Yep. We definitely have a lot of different industries we're working with. So if you're ready to automate and actually build this sales machine, whether you're doing it yourself or you do think you need some help with it, I'm not going to go over necessarily all the offers, but essentially we do have a special offer for anybody who's stuck around. Basically, we're offering $500 off the setup fees for any of our automation packages. So I welcome you to go check them out, simplegrowthsystems.com. We'll kind of just quickly go over because you might be looking at that fully automated system and say, geez, that's a lot of stuff. I'm a new business. Do I need all that? So we've kind of structured them to be cohesive to the different parts of the business life cycle. So we have our sales level 1 package, very basic. This is actually kind of what I started out with at SimpleGrowth. It's going to handle the lead intake forms. You also get our 20 days to close, estimate follow-up, and we give you a little taste of the upsells that we know you're going to love. So 1 is a great starting off point. Begin to nurture your database with. Any questions about that, Mike, before I go on to the sales level 2?
No, just to clarify that $500 off, basically there is no conference season up to this point with COVID. So what we're kind of doing is doing a virtual conference experience today. And just like we do at the conferences, if you pay in full, you would receive $500 off any of the packages that Dylan's going after. If you're like, Mike, we don't have the cash money up front, we're reinvesting the business, it's the crazy season cash flow-wise, that's cool. We finance these up to 5 or 6 months interest-free as well. So if you've got the cash in the bank, you need the tax write-off, $500 for the end of this webinar. Otherwise, we'll extend interest-free financing for the setup of the automation. And basically, you're going out and buying what normally would have cost $25,000 or $30,000 to build out at a small fraction of that price. So Dylan, I think you nailed it. But this system is built for each size of a business. So you can go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to 3+, and it hits the specific pain points of your business as you scale. So Dylan started out at level 1. Next thing we knew, he was at level 3 or 3+, and the guy was crushing it. But I mean, as a consumer, Dylan wasn't quite ready to jump up to sales level 3. When he did, it got explosive. But I mean, that's very common for people that start out. But I'll tell you, I think about 86% of our clients that start out with level 1 or 2, within a month or two are on level 3. They see the value, they see that. So what do we got cooking here for level 2?
Yeah, so level 2, obviously you get everything included in sales level 1, but then you also get that pre-estimate short-term nurture that Mike was talking about. That's so important. Shortening the sales cycle, answering those objections, and then cementing yourself as the market leader. Very, very important, especially when you start to get 70 or 80 quote requests overnight. You need to be talking to these customers in an automated way to keep them warmed up so that when you do get to their quote, they still want you. And then you get an extra upsell campaign as well. So now we're at 2 total upsell campaigns. Level 3, I'd say this is probably, this and level 3 plus are our most popular just because they start to automate more. Think of level 1 and level 2 as more of like an entry level automation package. Still great to start out on. I started out on it myself. But level 3 and 3 plus are where most people are at. This, we're getting into almost everything that myself and Mike had spoken about is included in this package. The only things that you're really missing out on are the dispatch notification automation, the 5-star review and cancellation risk report, the overdue invoice, and the crew upsell. And then you don't get the 8 upsell campaigns, which really complete your email marketing campaigns that you need. You really don't want to do more than that. You get 5, which is still a great starting point.
So as we dive in from level 3 to 3 plus, you're going to pick up that cancellation risk report, the dispatch notification, the overdue invoice, and you're picking up an extra 3 upsells as well, plus the crew upsell, correct?
Exactly. And the crew upsell alone at my company, we were able to literally sell $40,000 to $50,000 of new work each year just by having a regimented process that the crews were reporting the issues back to us, right? So there's little things like this that are really going to move the needle, and the cost is essentially inconsequential. So we still have our kind of our late spring promo that we were running up. So if you are interested in getting help with any of these packages, all of this is outlined on sgspring.com. And if you need a little bit more clarification on any of these, you can request a call on that website, I believe, but also just simplegrowthsystems.com. Book a call. That'll come directly to me, and we can chat further about this. But if you have any questions and you're watching this live, feel free to text. That's my cell. Anytime you can text or call that number, and we can chat further about this.
Love it, Dylan. Can't thank you enough. Work on it. Wednesday's not in it. If you're going to go out and build this yourself, you want to organize it, you want to automate it, and then you want to double down and dominate it. If you don't have the time to do any of that, you're looking at a turnkey solution. Hit Dylan up or sgspring.com. And what we've done is literally through the last 8 or 9 years, we've gone and figured out how to organize your business, how to automate your business, and then how to double down and dominate through those sales level 3 and 3 plus upsells and configurations that we have. And domination is not just the upsell or expansion, but it's also reducing that cancellation and increasing that customer satisfaction. Because as we drive crazy sales, let's face it, we're not always going to be perfect, but the automation goes in there every time it should and consistently make sure your clients are happy. And if they're not, it drives a person in there for accountability. So www.sgspring.com. Dylan also had some specials there for $500 off if you pay in full, or we can do 0% financing. And this stuff is not expensive, folks. So if you're looking to automate it, it's as little as what, about $47 a month, Dylan?
Yeah, it ranges from $47 up to $199 as your business grows, right?
As your business grows, we're going to grow with you. And if you're not interested, take this content, take that flow chart, go back, watch the recorded version of this, because folks, that is the roadmap to service business success, to go in and organize, automate, and dominate your market. So Dylan, appreciate you joining me on the first installment of Work On It Wednesdays, where myself and the SimpleGrowth team are going to come in here every Wednesday, varying times, but usually between about 1 and 2 p.m. Eastern on a weekly basis to go in and help you. So I want a big shout out to Andrew Durning, Rudy Roeder, amongst many other people watching live here. But if you have questions of the things that you should be working on in your business to create a greater return and create that lifestyle business of your dreams, why we all got into business, that's why we're here. We're going to show you how to do it. And occasionally, like today, if you stick to the end, we do have a little special. So hopefully you hit sgspring.com, you book a call, you talk to Dylan and I. I might just give you a call or text you since your mobile's on the screen, Dylan. I don't know, but kind of excited. You don't see that every day, but we'll see everybody again next Wednesday. Work on it Wednesday. Simple Growth, Mike, Callahan, Dylan from the Simple Growth team, helping you scale and take your life back from your service business. Dylan, I'll see you again next Wednesday, probably 1 or 2 p.m. Eastern.
Sounds good. And we might be talking about employee recruiting and onboarding potential.
It's a hot topic right now. So you know what? I'm going to hold you to that, Dylan. Next Wednesday, employee recruiting, training, and onboarding, how to automate it, how to create systems. And if you've ever seen the interview with myself and Jonathan Potoshnik of the Lawn Care Millionaire, we talk about building a team, building an organizational chart, and creating a culture that scales. And let's face it, folks, the biggest issue right now in our service business is help. We need to go out and be able to compete with the Walmarts and all the big box stores right now because labor is tight. And I don't see any relief coming. So next week, work on it Wednesday. We'll announce the time, but somewhere between 1 and 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to break down the whole employee recruiting, training, onboarding, and how to stack your virtual bench. Maybe a little taste of how to do some piece rate pay or pay per performance on that in the next episode. So we'll see you there. Dylan, thanks again, brother. I'll catch you next Wednesday and work on it Wednesdays.
Sounds good. See you then.